Welcome to the Taste Test channel, and this week we'll be taking an impartial look at popular potato chips from around the world to discover what the differences are and how some of the best-selling varieties around the globe differ in taste. As always, just for fun, we'll be awarding our Taste Test channel Best in Class award to the winner. If you're new to the channel, just hit the subscribe button to ensure you don't miss out on any of our regular taste tests. So whether you call them chips, crisps, potato chips or something else entirely, these crispy sliced potatoes are enjoyed worldwide in huge volumes. Over 80% of people in the US, France and the UK eat them regularly, many of them daily, and loads of other countries are not far behind in their appetite for this crunchy snack. Like many foods, claims to their origins vary, but the earliest known recipe features in an English cookbook of 1817, with the less catchy title, Potatoes Fried in Slices or Shavings. For a long time, potato chips were sold unseasoned. Smith's Crisps first started selling them with a sachet of salt in London in the 1920s, but they remained otherwise unflavoured right up until the 50s, when Irish company Tato developed the world's first flavoured version, cheese and onion. Flavours are actually remarkably varied worldwide, so for a like-for-like test, we'll be comparing 6 of the world's most popular brands in their original salted form. So our lineup of popular potato chips from around the world this week is as follows. From the USA, one of the most popular brands, Herz. From Germany, one of their best-selling potato chips, Funny Frish. From France, the hugely popular variety, Vico. From Australia, the favourite slim potato chip, Thins. From Italy, the market-leading and iconic brand, San Carlo. And finally, from the UK, the #1 selling crisps, Walkers, which everywhere else in the world are known as Lays. Price-wise, these all fall into a fairly affordable and roughly similar price group, although the cost to get hold of them may of course differ depending on where you're based. The bag sizes I could get my hands on varied massively, but you can see the price that I paid for each of them is shown below. As you can see, the Australian Thins and German Funny Frish had the highest price and are also the most expensive per 100 grams, with Vico from France being the lowest cost gram for gram by some margin. But essentially, all of these bags fall into a fairly reasonable price band. Nutritional wise, being crisps, these are not going to be the most healthy of snacks, but there is quite a bit of variation. So here are the 4 key groups we always stick to on the Taste Test channel, which are energy, fat, sugar and salt. The chart below lists the brands from top to bottom in energy content per 100 grams. As you can see, Herz from the USA has slightly more energy than the others, and San Carlo from Italy contains the least. Fat content also varies a little, with Vico from France having the most fat and San Carlo again containing the least. But the biggest difference can be found if we take a quick look at saturated fat, the least healthy of the fats, which is governed by the type of oil used in the cooking process. As you can see, Thins from Australia has 5 times the saturated fat of some of the others, followed by San Carlo and Herz, with Funny Frish and Vico having substantially less, and Walkers from the UK having the least saturated fat of all. Sugar content on all these is fairly negligible, but listed here for reference. Salt content does vary, with Herz and Funny Frish having the most salt and San Carlo having the least. But how will all this affect the taste? Well, that's why we're here. So we're going to start with Herz from the USA, one of the top selling potato chips in America. James Herz started the firm in 1946 when he left the chicken farming business to start his own snack company in Pennsylvania. From the late 50s, they started adding flavours, including America's first ever flavour, barbecue, and later sour cream, pizza, dill, and even horseradish. The most popular variety in all America, however, is exactly what we have here, plain. Today, Herz is still family run and sold worldwide. The oil used on these ones is vegetable oil, with corn, cottonseed, soybean, and sunflower being listed as the possible options. So what we're going to do is open all the bags first so we can compare them visually side by side, and then we'll move on to the tasting. So we'll open up the bag and let's serve some out. So they're medium to pale in colour, there's a mixture of sizes with some big ones in there, and potato skin left on the edges, which is all good. The aroma is the classic potato chip smell of salt, oil and potatoes, and I'll look forward to tasting them after we've opened the others. Next from Germany is Funny Frish, one of Germany's top 3 potato snacks. Funny Frish began in 1968 and are now part of the Intersnack Group, one of Europe's biggest snack brands, sold in 70 countries. Interestingly, flavours seem to really vary from country to country, with paprika or Hungarian pepper being Germany's #1 favourite, but these also come in barbecue, oriental, curry and tzatziki flavours, among others. Incidentally, Gelsolzen means salted, frish means fresh, and the oil used on these ones is sunflower oil. So let's open them up and let's serve some out. So these ones are lighter and on the whole more uniform looking than the last ones, both in shape and colour. There's less peel left on the edges, just the odd fleck visible, so the potatoes were more fully skinned. And the smell is more subtle, the same notes coming through, just less aroma. Next from France is Vico. Vico was formed in 1955 and are now also part of the Intersnack group we mentioned earlier. These particular chips come in classic, light and vinegar and shallot, but they also produce a crinkle cut version in other flavours including paprika, Emmental, grilled chicken and classic French dishes of goat's cheese or sausage. The oil used on these ones is sunflower oil. So let's see what they're like inside. And we'll serve some out. So these are the darkest and most golden so far, and again very uniform in colour, size and shape, and almost no signs of skin on the edges. Like the German ones, the aroma is quite subtle, but has all the usual notes of salty potato chips. Next from Australia is Thins, the Aussies' favourite thinly sliced potato chip, commonly referred to down under simply as chips. Thins has been previously owned by Arnott's, Smith's and Frito-Lay's, but are now owned by Snack Brands Australia. Australia's first ever chip flavour was apparently chicken in 1961, which is still the 5th best seller after original, salt and vinegar, cheese and sweet chilli. Other flavours of Thins include sour cream and chive, light and tangy and hot and spicy. If you recall, this brand had up to 5 times more saturated fat than the others. The oil used is vegetable, which includes both sunflower and unfortunately palm oil, which they state is sustainable, but worldwide that claim is a contentious issue in itself. So let's open up the bag and serve some out. Okay, so these are very different than the last 3, extremely pale in colour, almost a bit anemic looking, very uniform in shape and size, and the aroma is much more oily. In fact, they have that classic deep fat fryer smell of a fish and chip shop. Next from Italy is San Carlo, the market leading potato chips and a well respected brand. San Carlo started in 1936 and are part of Italy's culinary culture. Originally a rotisserie house in Milan, their crispy potatoes were served on the side of meat and fish dishes. However, demand was so high, they switched to them exclusively. Other flavours of these include tomato, paprika and lime, and pink pepper, which I have to say all sound delicious to me. These had the lowest calories, overall fat and salt of all the group. Oil used on these ones is vegetable oil, including high oleic sunflower and unfortunately palm oil again. So let's open them up. And we'll serve some out. So again, very different to the others, by far the most golden in colour and darker edges with a thin skin left on. They're also the most uniform so far in size and shape, and more intact, maybe using a smaller type of spud that's less likely to break. The aroma is the most potatoey by far, they almost smell like thick cut chips. Finally we have Walker's, the UK's favourite potato chip, which here in the UK we call CRISPS. Walker's began in England in 1948 but was acquired by Frito-Lay, a division of PepsiCo, in the late 80s, hence you may notice the similar design to the worldwide bestseller Lay's. Walker's UK produce over 11 million bags of crisps per day, and the 3 most popular varieties are cheese and onion, salt and vinegar, and these ones, ready salted. Other popular options include Worcester sauce, roast chicken, and my personal favourite, prawn cocktail, which by the way is all cocktail flavour and not really any prawn. Walker's use a blend of sunseed and rapeseed oil, which has around 75% less saturated fat than other oils, as we saw on the nutritional chart earlier. So let's see what they're like inside. And we'll serve some out. So these are medium golden colour, there's the odd fleck of skin on them but not a lot, and they're large and relatively uniform in shape. The aroma is very similar to the US Hers, all the classic notes of potato, salt and oil. So looking at them all now side by side, you can see the subtle variations more distinctly. Australian Thins stand out as by far the palest, with Italian San Carlo being the most golden in colour by some margin, followed by Vico from France. US Hers has the most skin left on its edges and a medium to pale colour, with the German Funny Frish and UK Walkers having a similar colour but minimal flecks of peel. But with all that said, I'm really curious to discover just how much they vary in taste. So let's move on to the tasting. We're going to start with Hers from the USA. Okay, so the texture is medium crispy and there's a good full potato flavour rather than just oil and salt. They are saltier than the UK Walkers I'm used to, but it's not dramatic. There's slightly more potato skin aftertaste, but in a good way. In summary, these are a very nice potato chip with a pleasant, natural and full flavour, not greasy or soft, and the oil is subtle. They're exactly what you'd expect a good, honest, ready salted potato chip to taste like. Next we'll try Funny Frish from Germany. So these are slightly thinner, lighter and crispier than the last ones, but with less potato punch, so I'm more aware of the oil, possibly because it's a thinner crisp, but they're not at all heavy and greasy and the flavour's well balanced. The aftertaste is more salt than potato, but again not excessively so. In summary, these are very pleasant, a nice light texture and very Moorish. Next is Vico from France. Okay, so these are crispier still than the last two, but there's much less potato flavour. The oil is the more dominant taste, but it's not as nice a flavour oil as the German brand, despite both brands using sunflower, although the salt kick is similar. In summary, these are perfectly nice chips, crispy and pleasant, but less potatoey, and personally I'm not as keen on the oil flavour that you get in the aftertaste. Next we'll try Thins from Australia. Okay, so these are crispy but slightly softer than the last two. The flavour is dominated by a definite fried food taste, and there's a very obvious greasiness to them. You feel the need to wipe your lips when you eat them. And the aftertaste is like white fat or lard. In summary, they're not a bad flavour, you can still taste the potato, and they're less salty than the last two, but to me, completely separate to the fact they have 5 times the saturated fat of some of the others, they really do taste unhealthy and very fatty, so I wouldn't want to eat a lot of them. Next is San Carlo from Italy. Okay, so the texture of these is snappier and drier than the others, not at all greasy, and they're very slightly thicker cut and taste like they've been cooked for longer than the rest. There's a massive hit of potato with a very natural earthy flavour. They're not very salty, and at first I thought they could do with a bit more, but you quickly get used to it, and then it's actually preferable. In summary, these are very nice. They taste a lot more healthy and natural while still being good potato chips, not too greasy or salty, and somehow they taste thicker than they are, more like a thick cut chip than a crisp. Finally, we have Walkers from the UK. So these are medium crispy and the thinnest cut of all. They've got a good potato flavour, but the oil tastes very similar to the French Vico, which I wasn't keen on, although the salt comes through more on these ones, possibly because they're so thin. They're also fairly greasy, I'd say the second greasiest of the group. In summary, these are perfectly pleasant crisps, nothing to dislike, and they're what I'm used to, but the flavour isn't as potatoey as the US hers, the oil isn't as nice as the German Funny Frish, and they don't have the natural crunch of the Italian San Carlo. Top marks nevertheless for having the lowest saturated fat of the group. So that covers how they all differ in taste, and now that we've tasted them all, as always, just for fun, we award our Taste Test Channel winners and Best in Class award, and this is always based purely on taste as opposed to ethics or nutrition. I have to say this has been quite a discovery for me, and just goes to show you could be happily eating a brand you've always been used to and then realise they may not actually be your favourite at all. In fairness, none of these brands are unpleasant, and there's pros and cons to be said of all 6. But our top 3 potato chip brands from around the world this week are as follows. Winning 3rd place, Funny Frish from Germany. Well balanced, a delicate flavour and a lovely light crispy texture. Winning 2nd place, Hers from the USA. A really good potato punch and honest, natural and full flavoured. But in 1st place this week in the popular potato chips from around the world, the Taste Test Channel Best in Class award goes to San Carlo from Italy. Crispy and snappy with a hearty natural potato flavour and plenty of crunch, they're really nice indeed. So well done to San Carlo from Italy. And personally, if they'd just stop using palm oil, I'd happily switch to this brand permanently. And as always, taste is subjective, and this is purely my point of view, but I hope this has provided some useful insights. So I've certainly enjoyed making this episode. I really hope you've enjoyed watching it, and if you have, it really helps us if you hit the thumbs up button, and please do consider sharing it with others. Also, don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell to ensure you don't miss out on any of our regular taste tests. And a huge thank you from me to everyone who supports our new and growing channel. Every thumbs up and subscriber really does make a difference. We're not sponsored, so to the handful of particularly generous viewers who support us via Patreon, we are eternally grateful. Meanwhile, stay chipper, and Oil be back next week.